If you've been asking God to change your life, but nothing seems to move, this may be why. Healing doesn't begin when your problems disappear. It begins when your heart surrenders. Stay with me and let this prayer guide you as God heals you from the inside out with His grace. You may believe that healing comes when life finally becomes quiet, when problems leave, when people change, when circumstances soften. But that belief will keep you waiting longer than God ever intended. Healing does not begin when the outside improves. Healing begins when the inside surrenders. You may think success is the absence of pain, but in the life of faith, success is the presence of obedience, not your will, but His will. Not your comfort, but His correction. Not your timing, but His wisdom. Ask yourself gently, have you been asking God to remove the storm when He has been asking you to become still within it? Many people want God to heal what hurts without touching what caused the wound. But grace does not work that way. Grace heals from the inside out. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being shaped beyond your understanding. There is a quiet work God does that no one sees. It is slow. It is hidden. It is holy. Think of a seed placed deep in the soil. Before it ever reaches the light, it must be buried. Not abandoned, not forgotten, but covered, pressed and surrounded by darkness. The seed does not fight the soil. It does not rush the process. It yields. In that yielding, life begins. God often heals you the same way. He places you in seasons where growth is invisible, where prayers feel unanswered, where progress feels absent. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. Strength is developing. Alignment is taking place. Ask yourself, have you mistaken hidden growth for no growth? Grace does not rush. Grace prepares. Preparation is not punishment. It is protection. God's timing is not random. It is precise. There is a spiritual law at work. What is unprepared cannot be sustained. If God were to heal everything at once, you might not recognize the responsibility that comes with wholeness. Healing changes how you live, how you speak, how you choose, how you obey. That is why preparation always comes before promotion, refinement before relief, alignment before abundance. Not your will, but His will. You may feel delayed, but heaven calls it alignment. Pressure has a way of revealing what lives in the heart, not what you say you believe, but what you truly trust. When pressure comes, some people harden, others humble themselves. Consider the person who loses stability. Finances tighten, plans fall apart, fear whispers loudly. One response is panic, complaints, bitterness. Another response is prayer, quiet discipline, faithful obedience in small things. Both feel the pressure, but only one allows God to heal the inside. Or consider a moment of rejection. A door closes. An opportunity disappears. The heart aches. One response is resentment, comparison, self-pity. Another response is surrender. Reflection, growth. Pressure does not create character. It reveals it. Ask yourself, what has pressure been revealing in you? God does not expose the heart to shame you. He exposes it to heal you. Focus is sacred. It is stewardship. Your attention is not accidental. Where you place it determines what grows. Obedience requires focus. Distraction weakens faith. When your mind is scattered, your spirit becomes tired. When your focus is disciplined, your heart becomes steady. Not everything that demands your attention deserves it. Not every voice speaks truth. Not every opportunity aligns with purpose. Focused obedience says, I will do what God has given me today. Distraction says, I will chase what feels urgent. Ask yourself, have you been faithful with today or distracted by tomorrow? Healing often begins when you stop trying to manage everything and start stewarding what God placed in your hands. Growth follows a simple path. Learn, apply, examine, correct, remain faithful. Learning without application leads to pride. Application without examination leads to stagnation. Examination without correction leads to frustration. Correction without faithfulness leads to exhaustion. But when you remain faithful, grace multiplies. Discipline is not emotion. It is devotion. Some days you will not feel strong. Some days prayer will feel dry. Some days obedience will feel costly. Discipline says, I will remain faithful anyway. God heals through consistency, day by day, step by step, choice by choice. Seasons teach patience, harvest teaches trust. No farmer rushes the ground, no seed argues with the calendar. You cannot hurry what God has designed to mature in time. Ask yourself, are you trying to harvest what you have not yet planted faithfully? Reflection keeps the heart soft. Correction keeps the path straight. Humility keeps grace flowing. Momentum in faith is quiet, it compounds. Small obediences accumulate strength over time. Breakthrough is not an event. It is a walk. God heals you as you walk with Him, as you listen, as you obey, as you trust. Not your will, but His will. And as you continue this walk, you begin to realize something gentle but profound. Healing does not mean the absence of scars. It means the presence of wisdom. It means the wounds no longer control your decisions. It means the pain no longer defines your identity. Grace teaches you how to carry what once crushed you. You begin to notice changes that are not loud. Your reactions soften. Your patience grows. Your words slow down. Your spirit becomes less defensive and more discerning. Ask yourself quietly, who are you becoming in this season? God is not only healing what hurts, He is forming who you are. The inside must be healed before the outside can be trusted, because if the outside changes without the inside being aligned, the blessing becomes a burden. Many people ask for open doors without asking for clean hearts. But God values integrity over access. Healing from the inside out means God teaches you to live whole, even when circumstances remain imperfect. Day by day, you begin to release what you cannot control. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop replaying past failures. You stop chasing approval. You choose obedience instead. There is a sacred strength in staying where God has placed you until He moves you, not your will, but His will. Pressure continues to come, but it no longer panics you. You have learned that pressure is not proof of abandonment. It is often proof of growth. You start to recognize seasons. Times of planting, times of waiting, times of pruning. Pruning feels painful, but it is purposeful. God removes what drains life so what remains can bear fruit. Ask yourself, what has God been asking you to let go of? Focus sharpens again. Distractions lose their appeal. You guard your time. You guard your thoughts. You guard your spirit. You begin to treat obedience as worship, discipline as devotion, patience as trust. Healing deepens. Momentum builds quietly. Faith compounds, grace strengthens resolve. You are no longer chasing breakthrough. You are walking with God. And in that walk, healing continues. Your prayers become less about fixing life and more about aligning your heart. You begin to pray, Lord, heal me from the inside out with your grace. Not because everything is broken, but because you desire wholeness. You understand now that grace does not bypass process. It sustains you through it. Day by day, you notice how obedience produces peace, not instant comfort, but steady peace. The kind that anchors you when emotions shift, the kind that holds you when answers delay. Ask yourself, are you seeking relief or are you seeking transformation? God's grace does not simply remove pain. It redeems it. What once wounded you becomes wisdom. What once distracted you becomes discernment. What once discouraged you becomes testimony. Healing is not loud. It is faithful. And as time passes, you realize something sacred. You are no longer asking God to hurry. You are learning to wait well. Waiting is not inactivity. It is obedience without visible reward. Strategic patience understands that every season has a purpose. Winter strengthens roots, spring prepares shoots, summer tests endurance, harvest reveals faithfulness. You cannot skip seasons and remain whole. Ask yourself, which season are you in right now? God heals according to seasons. He does not rush harvest in winter. He does not prune during harvest. Grace knows the right moment. Reflection becomes a regular practice. You examine your motives. You adjust your habits. You correct your direction, not with shame, but with humility. Humility keeps your heart teachable. Teachability keeps grace flowing. Spiritual momentum builds when obedience becomes consistent, not perfect, consistent. Small prayers matter. Quiet faithfulness matters. Daily discipline matters. Over time, these small obediences shape a resilient faith. You begin to trust God not only for what He gives, but for who He is making you. Breakthrough becomes less about change and more about clarity. You see clearly, you choose wisely, you walk steadily. Healing from the inside out means you stop living divided. You stop saying one thing and doing another. You stop believing one truth and practicing another. Integrity forms. Not your will, but His will. You begin to live aligned. Thoughts, choices, actions moving in the same direction. Grace strengthens what alignment produces. And then without announcement, you realize something has shifted. The same challenges no longer control you. The same triggers no longer rule you. The same fears no longer define you. Healing has taken place, not suddenly, but faithfully. Not dramatically, but deeply. And you understand now why God did not rush, because shallow healing would not have held. He healed you the way He always does, from the inside out. And as you continue walking, trusting, obeying, you whisper again, not as desperation, but as devotion. Lord, heal me from the inside out with your grace, knowing that grace is already at work, shaping your heart, steadying your steps, teaching you how to live whole, faithful, and aligned, day by day, season by season, until obedience itself becomes your rest and your joy. And you no longer fear the process because you trust the one who leads you through it, and you remain attentive to His voice, guarding your focus, stewarding your time, choosing patience over panic, faith over fear, surrender over control, allowing His grace to continue its quiet work within you, teaching you to walk humbly, to wait faithfully, to correct gently, to reflect honestly, to obey consistently, to remain rooted even when the soil feels heavy, knowing that life is forming beneath the surface, and that what God is doing inside you will eventually shape everything around you. And so you keep walking, breathing, praying, trusting, listening, and obeying, confident that the healing you once begged for is becoming the wholeness you now live from, and that this walk with God is not leading you toward a single moment of breakthrough, but into a lifelong journey of grace, alignment, and faithful obedience, where healing continues, deepens, and strengthens as you remain with Him step by step, day by day, trusting that His grace is sufficient for every season you walk through, and that the work He began within you is still unfolding, still shaping, still restoring, still healing, even now, as you remain still before Him, open, surrendered, and willing to continue the journey with patience, humility, and faith, knowing that the healing of the heart is not rushed, not forced, but gently formed under His loving hand, and that as you keep walking in obedience, the grace that heals you within will continue to guide you forward, deeper into wholeness, deeper into trust, deeper into the life He is shaping for you. And as you hold this truth, quietly you remain attentive, listening for His guidance, ready to continue wherever He leads next, trusting that the journey is not yet finished, and that His work within you is still unfolding, shaping, and restoring you according to His perfect will, not yours, but His will, always. And as you stay in this posture of surrender, you begin to notice that God is less interested in rushing you forward and more interested in rooting you deeper, deeper into truth, deeper into obedience, deeper into trust. You start to understand that many prayers go unanswered, not because God is absent, but because He is working below the surface where you cannot see. Healing below the surface lasts longer than relief on the surface. Ask yourself honestly, have you been measuring God's faithfulness by how quickly things change, instead of how steadily your heart is being transformed? Inside out, healing reshapes your desires. What once tempted you loses its grip. What once distracted you no longer satisfies. What once felt urgent now feels unimportant. Grace recalibrates the heart. You begin to choose silence over reaction, prayer over impulse, wisdom over speed. Day by day, your faith becomes quieter but stronger, less dramatic, more dependable. You stop needing constant reassurance because your confidence is no longer rooted in outcomes. It is rooted in obedience, not your will but His will. You learn to obey even when clarity is partial, to trust even when understanding is incomplete, to remain faithful even when results are delayed. This is where deep healing lives, in steady faithfulness. God teaches you to hold blessings with open hands, to receive correction without resistance, to walk forward without dragging yesterday behind you. Reflection continues to shape you. You notice patterns, you acknowledge weaknesses, you invite God into places you once guarded. Correction no longer feels like rejection, it feels like care. Humility keeps you soft, soft enough to be taught, soft enough to be led, soft enough to be healed. Spiritual momentum grows slowly but surely, one prayer at a time, one obedient choice at a time, one surrendered moment at a time. And then something profound settles in your spirit. You are no longer striving to be healed. You are learning to live healed. Not perfect, not untouched by struggle, but anchored. You understand now that breakthrough is not something you wait for. It is something you walk into daily through obedience. Healing from the inside out means your faith is no longer reactive. It is responsive. Responsive to God's voice, responsive to His timing, responsive to His correction. You stop asking God to prove Himself. You start proving faithful, and in this steady walk, your prayer changes again. It becomes simpler, quieter, deeper. Lord, keep healing what you are healing. Keep shaping what you are shaping. Keep correcting what needs correction. Keep me willing. This is the prayer of maturity, the prayer of trust, the prayer that invites lasting transformation. You no longer fear the slow work of God. You respect it. You no longer resent waiting. You steward it. You no longer demand answers. You listen for direction. And as you continue forward, step by step, you realize that the greatest evidence of healing is not a changed circumstance, but a changed heart. A heart that rests. A heart that obeys. A heart that trusts. God has been faithful all along. He's been healing you from the inside out, with patience, with wisdom, with grace. And as you remain with Him, you can be confident of this one truth. The healing is not finished, but it is secure, because the one who began this work within you is faithful to continue it day by day, season by season, until your life reflects not rushed success, but rooted wholeness, not emotional motivation, but disciplined obedience, not your will, but His will. And in that alignment, you walk forward calmly, wisely, and steadily, knowing that grace is not only healing you, but guiding you, sustaining you, and teaching you how to live fully surrendered, fully faithful, and fully at peace in Him.